Get us to the international media, get us to your capitals, and I will show you in big books what is happening in Yemen. We are not the ones who are making all this mess in Yemen.
The world isn't buying your denials, Mr. Sharaf.
We will continue the war if they don't withdraw from our country.
Despite fresh diplomatic talks, the 6-year war in Yemen shows little sign of ending, and aid agencies are warning of a humanitarian catastrophe as food supplies dwindle and the COVID pandemic takes hold. My guest this week from the Yemeni capital Sana'a is Hisham Sharaf, foreign minister of the self-styled Houthi government. His forces stand accused of committing shocking crimes and killing indiscriminately. Why won't they stop? Hisham Sharaf, welcome to Conflict Zone. Last month you told Iranian TV that the Houthis were open to a fair and honourable peace. My question to you is, how can there possibly be any fairness or honour after the terrible crimes that you and the other combatants in this war have committed?
Okay, now it is the end of this crazy war which was started by the Saudis. What can you say more than that? Let's stop this war and then let's sit on the table and find this peace and try to mend what happened in the last few years. So again, you cannot just look back and see what have been done. Try now to mend some of what you have done, all the parties, not only the guys in Sana'a, and then I think we can make some peace for the people of Yemen, not for the conflicting parties.
Well, when the crimes have been committed, and these are particularly gruesome crimes, you don't think you can just walk away from them, can you? From torture, indiscriminate killing, obstruction of vital aid, use of banned weapons, recruitment of child soldiers, arbitrary detention, enforced disappearances. If proved, some of these crimes represent massive violations of international humanitarian law for which you can be held accountable anywhere in the world. Do you think you can just walk away from these crimes?
Everyone should be held accountable for what they have done in the last 6 years, not only one of the parties, and the others who have all the money and resources can hide their crimes. Those who did crimes should be really put in front of the justice, to courts.
Well, that means again, you, doesn't it? That means your movement. Your movement has to be put in front of the courts. Are you ready for that? The National Salvation Government is not the Houthis. The National Salvation Government is a coalition of many political parties. What we are talking about, when you talk about war crimes, those in the field who committed those crimes from all parties should be held accountable. So let's not talk only about governments who appear on TV or go to meetings. Let's talk about those on the field who committed those crimes and find who ordered them to do those crimes. So you're trying to distance yourself from the Houthi crimes, are you? The fact is that your war has helped bring about the world's worst humanitarian disaster, which you and the other warring parties have inflicted indiscriminately on civilians and anyone who got in your way.
To answer your question properly, we have not started this war. This war,
I didn't say you'd started it, but you're continuing it, and you're continuing to target civilians indiscriminately.
No. We are defending ourselves. We are defending our people. We are defending our country against the Saudis and the Emiratis. So again, we will continue the war if they don't withdraw from our country. And those crimes that you talk about, let's look to them. Let's not just make it general. Say the crimes committed by your people. No, the crimes were committed by those who were the aggressors, not by the Yemenis who were defending themselves. Let's look to the books, look to what happened in the last 6 years, and then again, yes, we are ready to face the world and say who did what and what they deserve for such crimes.
Mr. Sharaf, country after country has condemned your intransigence. The US said in February at the Security Council, there can be no peace if the Houthis keep up their daily attacks against the Yemeni people.
Saudi Arabia and other countries in the region. You've said you want good relations with the US, then accept an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire as they've demanded.
We want a real peace, not a peace paid for by the Saudis and the Emiratis. When you talk about the word condemning the Houthis or the forces who are really fighting them, you know why? The Saudis and the Emiratis have spent billions of dollars to create a certain picture about what happens in Yemen, and no one knows what happened in our country, really, the actual picture. They committed most of the crimes in this country, and we know what they have done, and we are really documenting that thing. What is happening in the international arena is what the Saudis have paid for, and those countries who are condemning the Houthis are countries who have a lot of interest, a lot of business with Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries.
Well, it's not just those countries, is it? It's not just the countries, Mr. Sharaf.
They are doing that.
It's not just the other countries. It's the United Nations and their investigators and the international human rights organizations that are pointing their finger firmly at you. Now, even now, despite the fresh diplomatic efforts that are going on, you're targeting Marib, to the east of Sana'a, where civilians are bearing the major impact of new fighting. But that means nothing to you, does it? The more you kill, the more territory you acquire, the stronger your position in the peace talks. That's your calculation, isn't it?
Let's clarify this to the world. We are not the ones who are making all this mess in Yemen. It is those countries who are doing it, not our country or our people in Yemen. The national forces in Sana'a are trying their best not to hurt their people. We are really targeting the Saudis. We are targeting our enemies because they have destroyed our country. When you talk about killing civilians, we are not in the business of killing civilians, and I can prove it to the world. The world media and the UN that you are talking about.
The world isn't buying your denials, Mr. Sharaf. The world isn't accepting your denials.
No, not denial. We are here to talk to the world. Come to us. Look what has happened to our country.
Last month, Human Rights Watch.
One of the instruments of the UN is one of the instruments of the Saudis and the Emiratis. They pay.
Oh, so they're the enemy as well.
Of the UN. So again,
the UN has condemned both sides. The UN has condemned both sides, and I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you about what you are accused of doing. Last month, Human Rights Watch said your forces had shown a shocking disregard for the well-being and safety of civilians. The Houthis' indiscriminate artillery and rocket attacks towards populated areas in Marib have put displaced persons and local communities at severe risk. That's how much you care about civilians, isn't it?
We care about our civilians, and let's investigate these kind of events. Let's not talk to the media of... No, again. Don't try to change the picture. The picture should be clear. What you are trying now to say is what they talk about us. Come to us, and we'll show you what they're doing to us. We are not targeting our people. If there are any kind of mistakes, we will be accountable for it, and we will do proper things for it. But again, when you say you, what about the other party? You just shut your eyes.
I am talking to you. I am talking to you about what you're responsible for. I'm talking to you about what you're responsible for. We talk to the other parties in the conflict about what they're responsible for. Now, millions face hunger in your country, and your Houthi forces disrupt and interfere with the aid coming in. Why is that? Why? Why do you interfere with aid? Why on earth would you prevent organizations like the World Food Programme from doing their job and trying to feed people?
If there are any things like that, it should be presented, and people should be punished if they are doing something improper.
So punish them.
Now, we are not in the business of trying to stop the aid to the Yemenis. We will. Let's investigate that. Not just because you said it or they said it in the international media. Let's put the books on the table, as I said, and look to all the details. Sometimes in the midst of all these things, you try to make this kind of accusations without proofs. Let the UN prove it, and we will take the proper action against those who did such kind of things which stop the aid to our people.
Mr. Sharaf, your forces haven't just restricted the humanitarian agencies, you've actually threatened them as well. The UN experts said they documented intimidation and direct threats by your people against humanitarian personnel. What business have you got threatening people who are trying to feed the hungry?
I'm really hearing something new from you for the first time, that our people, I mean our government or our personnel, are threatening the aid people. If such thing occur, we will be ready to see it and punish those who are doing that.
The UN has named the Houthi officials responsible for issuing threats. All of them are from your so-called Supreme Council for the Management and Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Those include Ahmed Hamid, Abdul Mohsen Tawus, and Taha al-Mutawakkil. You know these people, don't you? Do you pay them to threaten the aid agencies?
I know them, and we don't pay anyone to threaten anyone, and I haven't seen that report. I wish I can put my hand on it, so then I can take some measures regarding this subject, because this is my responsibility to follow up on the subject with the UN.
You don't read the reports from the UN then? Because it's in their latest report from the panel of experts. You don't read their reports?
No. We receive what they send to us and we respond. We have a special committee to respond. So again,
are you also responding?
They have this especially what you just mentioned.
Mr. Sharaf, are you also responding to the reports of profiteering by your side? The UN says your top political leaders are competing to enrich themselves from limited state and public resources. Are you one of those top leaders who are enriching yourself from this war?
No.
You seem to be amused by these. Let me tell you something. You seem to be amused by these charges. These are serious charges.
No, but sorry, not amused, but sometimes surprised. Now, again, this government, let me tell you, this government is composed of the GPC, our party, and the Houthis, Ansarullah. We are doing our best as a government for the sake of the Yemeni people, not for the Houthis or for any officials who might try to enrich themselves with this war. We are ready, and let me tell you the whole world, we and the other party and the Saudis and the Emiratis, we are ready to be put in front of any kind of institution and see who did what against the Yemeni people. We are in this war to defend our people, not to get money or try to get some kind of power. And everyone knows that. And we have worked for the last 30 years with the Yemeni government. So again,
well, you say everyone knows that, but the UN doesn't know that. The UN panel of experts has tracked a number of illegal financial schemes that you're running. They include evidence of money laundering scams, creating false supply contracts to transfer huge amounts of cash to individual Houthi commanders and other officials. Are you personally involved in these? How does all this corruption fit in with your honorable principles?
No, I'm not involved in anything like that. I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I represent my party, the General Congress Party, and not the Houthis. And anyone who is committing any kind of illegal action should be punished for it, whoever he is, from whatever side they are. Again, this war is not to get rich. This war is to defend our borders, our land, and our really dignity in this country. And anyone who might try to get behind this kind of accusations to forget about the Saudis and Emiratis' crime will fail. They will fail because we don't have enough resources to employ such committees of the UN to know what others are doing. But the time will come and we will have American companies working for us and looking to the other side, what they have done, how they got rich, how these kind of armed deals have been done to kill the Yemeni people and get money out of it. And then in front of the world, they say that they are defending the legitimate government.
The real picture has been painted by UN experts, UN investigators, international human rights organizations who are on the ground, who have evidence of fake financial transactions and the seizure of assets, the illegal seizure of assets belonging to other individuals and companies. In September 2019, your specialized criminal court announced the confiscation of funds owned by 35 members of parliament who just didn't happen to agree with your politics. And they ended up a year later being sentenced to death in absentia. But the trial was a political sham, wasn't it? Why do you have political shams instead of fair trials?
Whatever is said by the UN is not the full reality. Who said so? Last month they disgraced one of their reports. So again, let's be with them in their groups, in their committees, and then they can ask us and we can respond, but not just to wait for their reports about what you have said about these kind of actions. I agree completely with you. Anything which is against the law should not be committed. If anyone has something to complain about, put it on the media. Let the whole world know about it.
They have plenty to complain about, Mr. Sharaf. They have plenty to complain about, and there's an even darker side to your activities. And that I'm talking about your detention centers now. The independent Yemeni human rights group, Mwatana, has charted some of the worst excesses by Houthi security, especially by the security and intelligence agencies. Prisoners, it says, have been subjected to multiple forms of torture, including, amongst other things, nail removal, severe beatings, and electric shocks. You happy about that? You happy about that kind of treatment?
No, I'm not happy at all. I am against any kind of actions which might really go to this kind of, I would say, human crimes.
So why don't you do something about them then?
Accusations should be.
Why don't you do something about them then?
What do you want me to do?
Stop them.
You know that
Arrest
we are
the
for the
people
last 5 years here in Sana'a. We cannot.
This.
I mean, again, no. Let's go to the right way. Why we are being blocked here in Sana'a for the last 6 years? Get us to the UN. Get me to the UN Security Council and I will talk to them. Not put me here in Sana'a and we cannot take a plane to London or to New York to talk to everyone in the world. You are putting us here in Sana'a so you can talk about whatever you want. And here we cannot respond to the world. If they are really
you're having a chance
human,
to respond now.
They should open
Mr.
Sana'a.
Sharaf. You're having a chance to respond now, and since 2016, Mwatana has registered 1,600 cases of arbitrary detention, 770 cases of enforced disappearance, and 344 cases of torture.
These are your numbers.
Proud of
these
that
are
record?
your numbers.
They're Mwatana's
Sorry.
number. The Yemeni human rights organization.
As I said, get us to the international media. Get us to your capitals. And I will show you in big books what is happening in Yemen, not what the UN says. I dare the Saudis to allow me today to take a plane and go to London and get you all of our pictures, our books, and talk in front of your people in England or in the US. They don't allow us to take even a small flight to Djibouti or other places. We are locked here in Sana'a, and you are making your own picture, your own movie in those big capitals and try to make us look like criminals. The criminals are the Saudis, the Emiratis, and those who support them in the US and in the UK, not the American people, not the British people.
Nobody is suggesting, Mr. Sharaf, that the other combatants in this war don't have a case to answer. They do. I'm asking you to answer the case of your coalition, in particular, what the Houthi forces have been doing. And the abuse, wholesale abuse of human rights that's been carried out by Houthi security forces. You don't want to talk about it. I understand that.
There is no. I don't know about it.
You don't.
I know about it. I'll talk about it.
You don't
but
read
again,
the reports.
as I said,
ignorance is not an excuse, is it?
I read the reports of the UN. This is part of the story. What the UN says. This is part of the story. Listen to what we will say to you in your homes, in your places out of Yemen. You are trying to keep us here in Sana'a and talk about everything in the world. There is a big media campaign paid by the Saudis, by the Emiratis, even by the British to sell their weapons, to show the world that Sana'a and the Houthis or Ansarullah are the only criminals who committed things in this war. You committed some of that war through your British weapons, through the American weapons. So again, let's open it for the whole world.
The UN has condemned all sides in this war. As you well know, it's not just your side that is being condemned. The other side has been condemned as well. Read the reports, Mr. Sharaf. Read the reports.
You are not saying the whole truth to the world through your programs. The UN put the Saudis in the blacklist 3 years ago.
They paid money, they lifted them from the books. And this is what will happen. The Saudis will pay a lot of money with the Emiratis, and you will lift them from the books of the crimes they have done. And you will keep the books for our people here in Sana'a of what they did. Money talks. This is what you should know.
Mr. Sharaf, human rights groups have noted another pattern of your oppression, and that includes sexual violence and rape directed specifically at women who are politically active. The UN has named a senior Houthi official, Sultan Zabin, alleging his involvement in these methods. Is he a friend of yours, a colleague of yours?
No, I'm a civilian.
He's been on the UN sanctions list since 2015. Do you ignore the very serious accusations against him? He's director of your criminal investigation department. Still, you don't know him.
Really?
You have nothing to do with him.
These are serious allegations. I don't know the person, but I read the report about Sultan Zabin, and he died about a week ago. He died here in Sana'a. And again, as I said, let's open the books, see what everyone did here and there.
There is no sign that you are taking any of these charges seriously. Mr. Sharaf, there is no sign that you are taking any of these charges seriously. The UN experts confirmed that between December 2017 and December 2019, Houthi individuals raped 6 women in detention facilities in and around Sana'a. Several were raped on multiple occasions over extended periods. Do you enjoy being known for these crimes?
First, I'm not a Houthi. When you speak about the Houthis, I am a GPC member.
They're part of your coalition.
But I represent
They're part of your coalition.
Yes, coalition. Yes,
they're part of your
coalition in Israel.
They're part of your
Someone
coalition.
did something, and the other again part of the coalition. Again, yes. But again, let me tell you something. We received some of the reports of the sanction committee, the one of the UN, and I take those reports and I send letters to every department or the ministry concerned. This is my role in this whole thing. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs cannot be really some kind of a decision-making agency who can impose things on local institutions. So we do our job. Again, anything like what you have said should be published, should the world know about it, not keep it only in the desks of the UN and the other institutions. Publish it to the world. Let the world know.
So what are you going to do about these very serious charges? Aren't you concerned about them? What are you going to do about these charges? Facing the Houthis as members of your coalition, what are you going to do?
We are part.
What are you going to do?
Look, okay, we will tell them what we have received as accusations. Again, still.
And then nothing will happen.
Accusations.
And then nothing will happen.
No. Who said no?
Who's going to investigate? Are you going to investigate?
Of the peace talks in Muscat? We will investigate anyone who did anything to any Yemeni citizen. I can assure you of this. If I'm not doing it, other people will do it.
Mr. Sharaf, given everything the world now knows about the brutality of Houthis and their corruption during this war, I'm wondering what a peacetime Houthi government would look like, especially one that is charged with torturing its opponents, stealing their assets, and raping politically active women. Does that qualify the Houthis to take part in a peacetime government in Yemen?
Ask your friends, the Americans, what they are talking to them in Muscat. Why? Why they are trying to take them on the table and deal with them nicely to get them to stop firing Scud missiles to the Saudis. You have to know this. Interests make the ends of all wars. Talk to the Americans, ask them what they are do that while they read all these reports. Why? You in the media are trying to show something for a certain purpose. We tell you that we have not done anything that might create hate against us as a government in Sana'a. We are defending our country against the Saudis and the Emiratis.
All these human rights abuses are of no concern and no consequence. All these human rights abuses that I've listed.
And all these killings by your planes, by the Saudis and Emirati forces.
And does that justify your human rights abuses?
300,000. No one looks to them.
Has committed crimes. Does that justify your human rights abuses?
Don't put the human rights against what has happened to us, the destruction and the killing of about 350,000 Yemenis by the Saudi planes and the Emirati planes, and you come here to talk about let's say, tens or hundreds of people. We will investigate everything, but at the same time, you should be accountable, you, the world, including Britain and the US and the Saudis and the Emiratis, for the hundreds of thousands of people who were killed here in Yemen while we were asleep. We get the rockets on our heads. So you don't talk about that. You talk about the torturing. You talk about the problems that happened. Yes, these things we will investigate. But again, we need investigation on the killing of hundreds of thousands of our people. And you should come to Sana'a, you yourself, to see what is happening.
And the UN has demanded that as well. Thank you, Mr. Sharaf. Hisham Sharaf, thanks for being on Conflict Zone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you again. Bye.